As said from Naval Ravikant, we are not affected from diseases of scarcity, we are affected from diseases of abundance. But what did he mean when he said this? When I think of the three things that keep us alive and give us feel-good hormones, there are three primary things that come to mind amongst a few other factors. They are food, reproduction, and information. Evolution taught us that if we didn't eat or drink, we would die. If we didn't reproduce, our DNA would die out. If we didn't have enough contextual information depending on the situation we were in, we might not be able to spot a tiger waiting in the bushes for us, and therefore again, we might die. So these things are, I guess you could say, integral to our survival. Therefore, there's some very useful neurotransmitters in our brain, such as dopamine and serotonin, that not only motivate us to want to have these things, but to make us feel good when these conditions are met. In modern day times, these things are all still true, however, there probably is not a tiger waiting around the corner. The point I'm trying to get to is this. Everything that I've mentioned, the three main factors, have all been engineered to be as addictive as possible. Reproduction, you've got pornography. Food, you've got a McDonald's or some variation of fast food around every single corner. But this video is more about the information aspect, which I've covered before on the channel and I don't think is covered as much these days. Similar to pornography and fast food, social media and other aspects of the internet have been engineered to be as addictive as possible. Even something as simple as the sound you hear when a notification comes up on your phone is meant to light up parts of your brain that are related to urgency and excitement, making you more likely to use your phone. I won't go into this too much as I've already covered this on my channel, but the general point is that the kind of content you consume affects your thoughts and feelings in the short term and the long term. Whether you're trying to distract yourself from an unhappy thought or trying to procrastinate despite an ever closer deadline, then watching junk online is not going to get the project done. Which brings me on to the next level. There's a concept that has been brought up from Ali Abdaal and other people on the internet, which is productive procrastination, but it might just be called different things. And essentially it is the idea that, it's the understanding that not procrastinating at all is probably the best thing, but if you are going to procrastinate, then procrastinating with stuff that is better for you and more productive is probably better in the long term. So this can apply to the internet. So usually it's changing your environment in general, but instead of scrolling on Instagram, you go on Twitter and you follow people who are educational and can actually give you some insight. Or if you're procrastinating with video games, what you can do is, if you like playing guitar for example as well, you can put the guitar intentionally close to your desk and pack away your Xbox whenever you're not using it. So this creates friction from using the Xbox and it makes it more likely you're going to use the guitar, which ideally I would argue is a bit more productive than playing Xbox, but I'm sure you guys get what I'm trying to say. For me, for example, on Twitter or YouTube, I'll only follow people who are close friends, close family, or people who are educational or insightful, usually. So if I do procrastinate, I'll probably be watching a educational Kurzgesagt video, or I'll be looking at some, insightful tweet from Naval Ravikant. So the whole point of this level is that if you can't help but procrastinate, then change your environment in such a way that the procrastination itself is better for you. Unfortunately, I don't think this is the level that many people get to, but I feel like this is the level that people should strive towards. And I think a reason why people never get to this level is because of how addictive their gaming console is, their phone is, and I don't really blame them. From the procrastination part, I very rarely procrastinate when I'm doing revision or working on this YouTube channel, and there are two primary reasons for that. Firstly, I find a great amount of fulfillment. Usually, I'm only human, so there's some days I won't be motivated, but I find a great amount of fulfillment from the stuff that I do, so I feel drawn towards doing those things instead of being pushed away. Secondly, I remove all negative environmental cues out of my environment. So like my phone, for example, that I'm using to read the script for this video, when I'm working, it is either outside arm's reach or it is in a completely different room of my apartment. Some people might need to use more extreme measures, and they might need to put their phone in their car and then lock it, but I keep my phone on me in case there's an emergency, and that works for me. But with the distraction thing, and I've touched on it, but a lot more of an elusive side of this is the emotional side. It's distracting yourself when you have unhappy feelings. Whether it is trauma or just a bad memory in general, I notice a lot of people my age or even older than me, there's not really a lot of reflection, and they are just distracting themselves with these, as I've said, these addictive iPhones and addictive forms of devices, entertainment. And I find when these negative thoughts bubble to the surface, that is when the video games, the pornography, the gambling, the drugs, or even just something more innocent like fast food, that's when these things are used more as a coping mechanism. But not just bad feelings, it can also be caused by things currently happening in your life. But sometimes people will get emotional triggers and they'll think about things that happened in the past, or just, even things going on now, and then they'll use these coping mechanisms, which, as I've said, have been engineered to be as addictive as possible. And I used to be one of these people, because these things are so addictive, you need to actively fight against it. Because if you don't, you will fall into the trap of using these things as coping mechanisms, or at least a lot of people will, because I understand there's a genetic component as well, which will cause some variety with this. Some people get addicted to substances, for example, easier than others. But anyway, the point I'm trying to say is, through a long journey, I got better, and one of the things that helped me the most was meditation. While this might be uncomfortable at first, it's like going to the gym for your brain in a way. If something is in your mind, instead of paying a therapist to listen to you, you are listening to yourself. And I find this gives a level of reflection and self-awareness that I rarely see in people these days. You can look at your life for everything that it is, from a point of stoicism, instead of looking at your life through a stressed, impulsive keyhole. If you want to try meditation, which I highly recommend if you haven't tried it properly, then I recommend downloading an app called Waking Up by Sam Harris. And if you do decide to do that, then I wish you all the best with your self-reflective journey. The reason I think this app is really good is because it has an introductory course, and this isn't sponsored. I just think this is a really good app to have, and as I said, it will just guide you through meditation and will address a lot of the concerns and issues that many people have when they start meditating. If you enjoyed this video, then you might enjoy the video that I did here talking about social media and how to use it in more of a healthy way. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you there. Adios amigos.